Reports suggesting Valverde is out. Quique Setién set to be announced as the new coach of Barca. You take a look at his resume, it's pretty underwhelming. He took Betis to 6th place in his first season back in 2017-2018. Coach at Las Palmas, was at Lugo from 2009 to 2015. Sid Lowe is with us. Sid, that resume doesn't scream Barcelona.
But the way that they did it does, and this is the key to all of this. Quique Setién is a man who said he would have cut off his fingers to have been able to play for a Johan Cruyff team. He's a very public and very avowed defender of the Barcelona style. He's talked a lot about his admiration for Sergio Busquets, for Leo Messi, for Andres Iniesta. He's someone who speaks about football in the way that, in theory at least, Barcelona embrace. And if you watch the way that Betis side played, and in particular the way that Las Palmas side played, they both massively overachieved, at least to start with, until things started to go wrong later on. They massively overachieved playing a game of touch, technique, possession, attacking football, and the kind of player, with the kind of players that all massively overachieved as well, that suddenly became confident on the ball, that wanted possession, that wanted to be involved. He is someone who very much, I think, will be embraced by the Barcelona purists. Now, that's not to say that this is a guarantee of success, but in terms of the identity, that thing that we've been talking about endlessly over the last 2.5 years, when we've been saying that even when Barcelona are winning, yeah, but is it Barcelona? Well, Setién, on the face of it at least, is.
That's one thing to say, Sid, but this is a huge gamble, isn't it?
Well, of course it is, but you have to look at the situation that Barcelona are in. And I must admit, I find it amazing that Barcelona have effectively worked themselves into this position. Now, I don't think that many people would be fighting to keep Valverde. I don't think that many people would be hugely disappointed with the decision to get rid of him. But now's not the time. The time was back in the summer. The time was after Anfield last year. And if that wasn't the time, then the expectation, and everybody had this expectation, by the way, was to see this through to the end of the season. And then at that point, the plan that Barcelona had in place, which wasn't necessarily a done deal, but they had in place, was to bring in Ronald Koeman after the European Championships, where, of course, he'll be the manager of the Netherlands. But this has all been precipitated, and the thing that I find baffling about it is being precipitated by, yes, it's true, another collapse. Yes, it's true by the kind of performance that in the last 10 minutes against Atletico Madrid in the Supercopa in Saudi Arabia, there were kind of reminders there of what happened at Anfield, reminders there of what happened in Rome. But this was still just the Super Cup. And I think it's amazing that Barcelona allow themselves to be suddenly drawn into this, oh, we've got to do something. And then, of course, when the initial ideas of what they were going to do, which involved travelling to Qatar, speaking to Xavi Hernandez, trying to persuade him to take the job now, when that fell through, they were then put in a position where it was very difficult to back out again. And I think you have to look at it in that context to explain why this has happened.
You mentioned Xavi. How low on the list was Setién? We mentioned Koeman, as you did before. Xavi as well. Pochettino, the reports over the last 24 hours. How low did they go?
Well, this is the question that, in all honesty, I can't give you an answer to. Now, we know that they went to Xavi. We know that they went back to Ronald Koeman. As I say, that was the mid-term, long-term plan, was to bring Ronald Koeman in after the European Championships. And we know that they went back to him and said, look, how about we do this now? We find a formula that makes this work now. After that, I must confess, at what point the names that are coming from the club are mixed with the names that are being thrown out by all over the place. There have been so many names, as you mentioned, Pochettino. But Pochettino, who, by the way, said he'd rather go and live on a farm than manage Barcelona. Allegri was offered, we're told. But I think a lot of this is names in there. I think with Setién, it's very difficult to know if he's the next one on the list or if he's somewhere in the mix of the 3 or 4 other names that are on the list.
Initial reaction, boys?
Well, if Pochettino's so stupid, then he should go and live on a farm. He's not to want to manage Barcelona.
Well, he's loyal to Espanyol, isn't he?
Just because he was at Espanyol. Look, Valverde, back-to-back titles, amongst other things. It seems like another reaction from the board. They made a right mess of the summer transfer window. We talked about that yesterday. The whole Neymar and how they tried to poach Neymar and how they went about it and how they banded allegedly players' names about that might be involved in it. It just seems they go from sort of one decision to another. But it was when, and it is when and not if Valverde goes. So, but I don't know.
I mean, I guess the first thing I thought was, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, OK, he's got a reputation for playing open attacking football. How is he going to make this team play that open attacking football that supposedly Valverde hasn't been doing? Well, it's going to be very difficult because you've got a piece of the puzzle going forward, a huge piece, that doesn't fit in Antoine Griezmann. So your problems are all defensive, but you go and buy a piece to go forward that doesn't actually fit going forward either. So this is not quite as straightforward, I think, as the Barcelona hierarchy think. It's not a case of just changing the manager, because at the end of the day, you've still got a huge piece that doesn't fit, and your attempt to go and play attractive football.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.